All right, three, two, one, and we are live. Welcome once again to HeroQuest fans. Hope everybody's doing well. I know things in the world aren't great for a lot of people right now, but we just continue on with what we do. So, yeah, today we're going to talk about a few things in the HeroQuest community. We recently had this update from Avalon Hill, which of course is the company, the wholly owned subsidiary of Hasbro, which is doing the HeroQuest remake, which we've been talking about for ages, ever since it was announced. None of this is endorsement of any products here. I'm just talking about stuff from my own point of view here at HeroQuest fans. And thank you to everyone who joins us. This, of course, is live on Twitch as usual, but it is also replayed on YouTube. XSC 3, home of HeroQuest fans on YouTube. So join us there. We also have Discord, and we also hang out at Ye Old Inn forums pretty often. So yeah, so we got our two cameras set up here. Let's just take a look here at the announcement, the recent announcement. Others have covered this already. Predictably, I don't hang out on Twitter or Reddit to get these updates like right away. I don't spend much time on Facebook anymore, period, much less the Facebook groups. But people have been talking about it, so there's something of a buzz already. So let's switch over. So the Commander of the Guardian Knights was this miniature expansion that they released for HeroQuest, and it was back in November, and it was really short notice. It just kind of came out of the blue. Here's a new hero to use with your HeroQuest remake. There are two figures, male and female version of the same character, and they each got a set of cards. So it's kind of like a 7 body point hero, which you could swap out for one of the four to use in your quests. No other guidelines other than just here it is. But anyway, they had something to say. Mine is still on pre-order. So when I go to GameStop, I wish I hadn't done it, but I ordered it from, pre-ordered it from GameStop, and it still says awaiting product availability. Every 2 months, it'll charge my card, and it'll say pending for a couple weeks, and then it'll just go away, or even less than that, maybe just a few days, and it'll go away, and then it'll just still say awaiting product availability on GameStop, and then anyway, so this is the latest announcement. Let me read it to you. So I'm quoting here from this is on HasbroPulse.com/blogs/Avalon Hill /HeroQuest concerning the Guardian Knights or Knight uh, singular. So anyway, they got this cool picture here. So this is quoting them. Greetings, gamers. Today we have an update for you that we know many have been asking for. The future of the Commander of the Guardian Knights figure for the HeroQuest game system and how its launch has affected our release plans moving forward. Let's jump right in. First, let us apologize, as we are aware that many of you who pre ordered the Commander of the Guardian Knights still have yet to receive it. So, just pause here. That includes myself, and I appreciate an apology for my company whenever they do that. But let's see what else they say here. Continuing on, quote, due to a shipping delay, a portion of the stock that was supposed to reach one of our vendors didn't receive its full allocation of figures. Thankfully, all the figures have arrived, okay? And we are hopeful the vendor will be able to start delivery soon. Okay, so that tells us that they've all been shipped now, or that they're all available now, all the stock they have. Okay, I'm just reading between the lines. All right, quote, when this Commander of the Guardian Knights expansion was first conceived, we had no idea fans would accept or reject the idea of an expansion that didn't already exist. Okay, I'm going to pause right there. Why are they saying this? Because the whole point of the Mythic tier, with all those stretch goals for the fundraiser that Hasbro Pulse did for HeroQuest, with the 3 new quest books, the Joe Manganiello uh, dragon, all the alternate, gender swapped heroes and monsters, those were all new. I mean, yes, some of the gender swap characters were just alternates, but I mean, 3 new quest books, new character, um, new monster and all that stuff, and people accepted that. People wanted it. People are still paying exorbitant prices on eBay for scalped versions of that stuff because it's not available. So why did they think there was no demand? That's kind of an odd thing to say. But anyway, I digress. Let me continue on with their words here. I just can't help doing the commentary. So, okay, quote, fan made heroes have popped up on Board Game Geek. Hey, what about Ye Old N? Well, Board Game Geek is pretty popular, so I guess I can't blame them. Okay, fan made heroes have popped up on Board Game Geek and various fan sites for years, but we are publishing the original North American version of HeroQuest nearly as is. As an aside for me, which I appreciate the fact they didn't change the rules. Quote, would fans be interested in something new? As it turns out, the answer was a resounding yes. I agree. Quote, the Guardian Knight pre-order went live in November, and amazingly, it sold out in about a day. We were excited, astonished, and proud of our fans for such a supportive response. However, we soon saw the demand was even greater than expected. We had originally only intended to make the one print run before moving on to the next project. The Commander was developed in cooperation with retail partners, yes, as a limited expansion to support the launch of the HeroQuest game system, and we didn't foresee such an incredible appetite for the figure. I'm going to pause there and say, I think they should have known this. I mean, yes, the whole fundraiser thing was clearly targeted at super fans, at hardcore collectors, um, the niche communities of HeroQuest that kept the flame burning all this time, like at Ye Old Inn and formerly Old Scratch and all those forums. The vast majority of the public had forgotten about HeroQuest since the late 90s. I mean, Warhammer Quest was in and out like in 97, 98, so the world had forgotten about HeroQuest by and large. It was just the hardcore fans. When they did the pledge drive, okay, they offered us new stuff. Obviously, there was a huge demand for that. And the fact that people are still selling that stuff online and paying huge prices for it, okay, well, but yeah, they should have known that there was be a huge demand. I mean, come on. I mean, the fact that they put the game in retail means that they knew the public wanted it. They weren't going to sell a product that no one was going to buy, right? They knew the hardcore fans already owned the game. We already have the classic game, and we bought the remake, the Pledge Drive remake. And the fact that they were going to add this bonus figure, this Knight expansion, alongside the retail game, they should have known. But anyway, this is their defense. This is their apologia for the whole situation. So anyway, quote, continuing with the document, I'll never get through it. What this means is that we are not able to print another run of the Commander of the Guardian Knights figure as is. Okay, so I'm going to pause. Boo and hiss to that. Not able. Why? There's more people. I mean, the demand outstrips the supply, right? So all they're going to do by this is encourage people to scalp the product or for people to scan it and 3D print it. They're missing out on sales. I mean, I guess at a certain point it's time to move on, but think about the company that they're working for, Hasbro. Hasbro is like one of the biggest toy companies in the world. I assume, at least in the English speaking Western world. Um, and it's as if they said, oh, hey, guess what, everybody? We did all these Star Wars figures, but we ran out of Darth Maul. Sorry, everybody. No more Darth Maul. Nobody gets that figure anymore. You gotta buy it from, a garage sale or something. No. When there was a shortage of figures through Kenner, formerly it was known as Kenner, or, they run out of some big Mattel figure, or whatever. All these big companies, they issue more because they know that people are still going to buy it. Collectors will be mad because collectors want the supply to be as limited as possible so they can keep the price as high as possible and they can have that prestige of owning these rare figures that most people didn't even have a chance to get. And scalpers prey upon that because they know that they can sell it for any price, and people that just gotta have it, who are afraid of missing out, FOMA, um, or FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh yeah, I guess it's FOMO. It's funny when you say those things out loud. Yeah, so scalpers take advantage of that, and the company doesn't see a dime for that. I mean, unless you have some some employee who's surreptitiously selling the stuff, reselling it on the side, which there's probably some contractual thing against doing that, ethical thing against doing that. But anyway, yeah, when you buy something on eBay from a third party, they don't see a dime. So they want you to buy it straight from Hasbro Pulse, or they want you to buy it from a retail store like Target or Walmart. They want you to buy it through an official third-party seller like um, GameStop or Big Bad Toy Store or Zavvi or whatever. There's a few others. Best Buy. Um, what are the others? I'm forgetting them for some reason. But anyway, those are the main ones. But yeah, they want you to buy it that way, new, not used quote unquote. So this line, I mean, we're going to overanalyze it because the big criticism towards Avalon Hill and Hasbro this whole time for HeroQuest is that as a community, we feel like we're being ignored a lot of the time. Let's just be honest. We feel like we're being ignored. So they'll dangle this cool, shiny thing in front of us and say, hey, HeroQuest fans, we're going to sell you a product. And then when we start asking questions, they're just really quiet about it. And they don't say anything for months. And yeah, they give us little tidbits, but not a lot of public relations communication. Is that because they're afraid they can't deliver? Is that afraid because they're afraid that whatever they say will get criticized? Is that because they just, I don't know, they just have some policy that don't talk to customers? It's kind of weird. So the fact that they give it something like this is nice. I wish there was more of it. I wish they wouldn't, just have such a blackout between releases. I mean, maybe back in the day, you wouldn't have people writing letters to Kenner saying, hey, I've got some suggestions for this Boba Fett figure. I want you to listen to me. It's like that usually doesn't happen. Maybe you'd have a news story and that'd be it. Nowadays, in the digital age, all these companies they have Twitter accounts, they have online presence, they send out emails to everybody on the mailing list. They put stuff on social media like all the time. So people kind of expect a little bit of give and take, a little bit of communication, a little bit of transparency. I mean, we're not saying lie to us and just tell us what we want to hear. We're saying explain to us your thought process. Tell us what's going on. Tell us what to expect so that if we want to be loyal customers, we can have our money ready. And if you're doing something that we dislike, you can give us the opportunity to let you know before you overextend yourself and lose a ton of money and break that relationship between customer and merchant. Is what I would say. So anyway, little soapbox in there. So let's go back to the document. Okay, so they're saying we're not able to print another run of the Commander of the Guardian Knights figure as is. So there's not going to print any more or injection mold. They're not going to make any more of these Guardian Knights. But as is means maybe they'll make a different version of it. Okay, I guess. See, there is a certain contingent of HeroQuest fans out there who, I'm speaking as broadly as possible, who don't care about the game. They just want the miniatures. And that could apply to anything. A Dungeons and Dragons game comes out with new miniature figures, and they'll buy it just because it has those little figures. And I'll admit, there's a little bit of a streak of that in me when I look at a game. When I see it as cool miniatures, that's kind of the first thing that catches my eye. But at the same time, if I'm buying like a $50 game that has like $10 worth of miniatures in it, I'm thinking, well, I want the game itself to also be good because I'm not just going to buy it, throw it all the box and throw all the manuals and throw the books and the board and dice and just throw that in the trash and then just hang on to those little figures. I want the whole game to be good. I mean, when I got Space Crusade, I was thinking, hey, cool, I can use these figures to play my game that I already have, but I also was interested in the game itself, playing it as it was intended. So that's me. So yeah, some people won't even care, but there are those fans who will be disappointed because you're not going to make any more of these Guardian Knights. They really wanted the design. I mean, I said my piece about the design. There were some parts of it I liked, some parts I thought could have been better. But I mean, if you're going to offer a totally new sculpt of it, what's the point? I mean, I could just get a Reaper Bones figure that looks like what I consider to be a knight, in shining armor, and I'm just going to use that in my game. and I'm going to use your rules as a suggestion for my own homebrew thing. I mean, that's what we've always done. Now, the general public maybe wouldn't invest that much. They wouldn't invest in, making their own figure and 3D printing and printing the stuff out and pasting it onto chipboard and cutting it out and making their own cards. They would just be like, okay, well, can I buy the product? Oh, I can't buy it. Well, fine, move on to something else. Go buy from some other retailer. So it's disappointing that they're doing this. I can't understand why they would, because they know there's the demand there. Are they just hoping that we're so loyal to the company that we're just going to buy the next product they do? What if they do the same thing to us again? I mean, I hear so many complaints from fans of the or customers of Games Workshop that Games Workshop is constantly, supposedly constantly releasing these products where it's limited run, exclusive, limited time, limited supply, and it makes everybody angry because on the one hand, they're addicted to the product. They want to buy it right away, and you got to get your foot in the door, and then most people end up missing out. They don't even hear about it until it's already sold out and never going to be made again. So they get really mad, and then they go online and they try to buy some of it because it's marked up. People are reselling it, but the company just, I guess they just bank on people being so loyal that they'll feel depressed that they missed out on a product, and the next time they'll just get their foot in the door right away to try to buy it. But I feel like you limit the community that way. You really do. The whole ethos of HeroQuest was, here is a tabletop fantasy adventure game for the masses. This is not something that's only for elite players. This is not for like a secret group of underground gamers. This is not for, just a tiny niche demographic of collectors. This is supposed to be for everybody. Kids, families, parents, teenagers, anybody can walk into a big box, as they call it, retail store, see your game and go, I like that, and buy it and play it with their friends, and talk about it online. Word of mouth, get it going. Somebody else wants to play it with you. Great. People make their own mods, make their own quests, post them online. That increases the community. Other people share their ideas. It grows and grows. People see all the cool stuff other people are making for the game and they say, great, I want that game too. So they walk into the store and they buy their own copy. That's how it was supposed to be. That was the strength of HeroQuest. On the one hand, you could say maybe they're a victim of their own success. They made the game so easy to mod, easy to expand, easy to distribute, free rules and variations that people had come up with, that people just buy one copy and then never buy it again. It doesn't have to be that way. There's so many ways that they could promote the game, promote that loyalty, promote that expansion of community. They could offer a subscription-based service where people create their own quests, share and promote their own quests. Think of something like Mario Maker back in the day, on the Wii U and Switch, where people would make their own game courses and distribute them. Maybe you need a subscription to view all that content. And yeah, maybe you sign up, download everything, and then cancel your subscription. Well, they still got your money, right? And the fact that people see, the drop in the bucket, that there's all this stuff available, they're going to want to sign up themselves. So there's a lot of strengths there. Or they could just, just make it free, have a free app and just run ads. I mean, there's so many ways they could do it. But offering these heroes for just a limited time just seems like they're limiting the profits they can make. So if I were this company, I would be kind of confused. Why am I doing this strategy? So I don't know what quite they're thinking, but it is interesting to get a glance with this letter. So I kind of got off on a rant there. Let me check the stream here. Yes, welcome to Strange Bus. He's been making this guy has been working super hard on his channel, just cranking out gaming content, PS5 type stuff. So go check him out. Striker667. Oh, are you talking about those damn knights? Yes, I am. And he says, or she, I guess I'm not going to presume, by the time I heard about it, they weren't available. This has me turned off of looking for official expansions. Hey, Striker, I know exactly what you're talking about. A lot of people had the same reaction to the pledge drive. They really wanted to see Stephen Baker's new quest book. They really wanted to see Joe Manganiello's stuff. They wanted to see Teo Sabatia's stuff. Didn't matter because by the time they found out about it, it was already too late. They gave us like what 2 months to pledge, and that was it. Guardian Knights were sold out in a day, so it's kind of a crappy situation. If they keep doing this, yeah, that's just gonna piss everybody off, really. So I hear you, and I agree. I agree 100%. And we're not the only fans that think this. Obviously, there's a lot of people that agree with us on this. All right, so welcome also to Adept W and Adelina. Adelina. Sorry. You'd think I know my way around Twitch by now, but I'm still learning. So anyway, yeah, let's go back on to let's rant some more about the Knights. So yeah, so I think that they made a massive error here, and they're kind of sort of admitting it. They totally underestimated the demand for new HeroQuest products. I mean, kudos to them for putting the game system Keller's Keep and Return of the Witch Lord into retail. Kudos to them for releasing it outside of North America, not just in the US, Mexico, and Canada. That would have been a huge mistake because there's HeroQuest fans all over the world. Everybody wanted this thing. Okay. I mean, yes, there were some people that were so old school that they wanted no changes, period. And because of the rupture between Hasbro, Milton Bradley, and Games Workshop, obviously the Warhammer Fantasy stuff had to go. So they had to make some changes to the game, but the fact they kept it so similar was great, and they lost very few fans, I think, by doing that. Where they lose people is the fact that they had all that extra content in the Mythic tier that is no longer available, and so a lot of fans had no chance. It was so poorly advertised and marketed that a lot of people that would have bought it didn't get a chance to. And now when they buy it on eBay, Hasbro gets nothing. Okay, so they missed out on a lot of profits, potential profits they could have gotten, a lot of potential uh, customer loyalty. They limited their community severely by doing that. Now with this Guardian Knights, they're running into a similar kind of problem where they should have known right away that this stuff was going to be popular and available. Now, yes, we had COVID. Yes, we had the unfortunate fact that a lot of stuff is outsourced to China. Okay, and they can't get the stuff over here fast enough. And there's political stuff that limits that sort of thing. So they should have planned ahead. They should have done like what Reaper did, put their stuff domestically, produce their miniatures domestically so they don't have those supply chain issues. Creates jobs for the economy. I'm not an economist, so what do I know? But it's like they have this business model that just doesn't work anymore for what they're trying to do, which is create a fan base that is rooted in everyday gamers, everyday players, everyday fans, not just this elite um, group of collectors who has lots of disposable income and is always, early adopters, always, first day pre-order, that sort of thing. Really, what you want to do is you want to capture the old school HeroQuest fans from the 90s who are grown up now, who have their own kids and grandkids, and they want to introduce the game to those people. And yes, you get casual board game fans who see this stuff and go, "Oh, this is kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, except it's really easy to learn and really easy to modify and really open-ended and simple. Hey, I can get into that." That has an appeal because people who want those complex, really difficult elite games that are designed to be painted and all that sort of thing, those people are already fulfilled. Those people already have tons of options. They can go to Games Workshop and get Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar. They can already play Dungeons and Dragons. They can already play all these other games out there. But the HeroQuest fans, Obviously, you've got the nostalgic people, but then you've also got people who would get into the hobby if they could, but there's all these barriers to entry. The games are super complex. Okay, they have high learning curve. You got to play for over and over again. You got to read all these books. You got to buy all these thick, expensive books. You got to go to these obscure elite game shops, and you don't know where to begin. HeroQuest makes it easy. They just give you a box. You buy the box. Everything's in there. Everything's explained. You don't even have to buy anything beyond that. You just write it all yourself. So it's a huge strength. That product has a place. And if you're going to make extra stuff for it, it's just a way to prime the pump, the imagination pump. It's a way to inspire you to create new stuff. So when they create the knight, it's like, okay, well, a knight is a character that you can use in the game. They give you some rules, but you could do whatever you want with it. Why does it have to be a knight? It could be an enemy. It could be a monster that you fight. He's, in armor. It could be a mercenary that you hire. It could be anything, really. He could be a statue. You go through Rome and there's a bunch of statues of suits of armor or something. There's so many things you could do with it. You don't have to use the cards they give you. You can create your own cards. So even if you think having an extra hero is not really necessary, it's a cool thing. Not just a cool miniature. So there's so much that could be said. I could go on and on. Let's get back to this letter from Avalon Hill through Hasbro Pulse, apologizing for the situation with the Guardian Knights. Okay. This quote, what this means is that we are not able to print another run of the Commander of the Guardian Knights figure as is. While the Guardian Knights still have a role to play in the larger story of HeroQuest, no more of the current figure can be produced. End quote. I wonder why not. Continuing on. Quote, we underestimated its popularity. Boy, did you ever. And for that, we offer an apology to our fans. Okay. Pause. Whenever you apologize, I mean, yes, now the burden is on me to accept your apology, but at the same time, I want change. I want to see that not only do you realize you made a mistake, but next time you're going to do better. So, continuing on, quote, we know we let you down, and you may rightfully be feeling very frustrated with us, end quote. Okay, well, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it's not that big a deal. It's just a toy that we were promised and we signed up for and we tried to buy, but you wouldn't let us buy it because you underestimated the number of fans that actually needed it. Because once you place an order, I mean, it's the obligation now of the merchant to fulfill that order or to refund it, right? So if my order gets canceled, obviously I'll want a full refund, and I will be more reluctant in the future to fall for this whole thing again. So if they offer another hero character, let's say another exclusive limited time pre-order, I'm going to go, I'm not going to sign up for it. Why bother? I might not ever get it. So what's the point? And you could say to yourself, yeah, but there's a chance you could be one of the few people who would get it. And do you really want to go on eBay and pay somebody twice, 3, 4 times the amount to get it from some shady reseller? Well, no, I don't want to do that either. I mean, these are not antiques. These are not vintage. This is just something that they've artificially limited the supply and apparently hit this way through incompetence, not realizing that, hey, you've got a bigger market than you ever. I mean, who are they paying to do market research to figure out? It's not just a couple people on Twitter. I mean, you actually do have a worldwide HeroQuest community here of people who are still interested in the game. And you also have an even larger, because that's just the tip of the iceberg, an even larger group of people who remember HeroQuest, who, if they only knew it still existed, would be interested in spending their money to buy it. Okay? So, I mean, 6 months is not a lot of time. Even a year is not a lot of time. Well, a year, okay, over the course of a year, you need like TV commercials, you need magazine commercials, you need word of mouth, you need a lot of ways to get people to understand, oh, HeroQuest, I remember that. It's back now. I can buy it for myself, for nostalgia. I can buy it for my kids, for my grandkids, my nieces and nephews. I can, it's something I can share with others. By the time they find out about it, it's too late. It was only available for a day. It was only available for 2 months. That's not very good customer service. That's not a very good way to gauge your community. But okay, Hasbro, okay, Avalon Hill, you know now that there is a huge demand for your HeroQuest products. And you know that the fans are opinionated, and you know that they will say something if you disappoint them. And you know that if they don't get what they want, they're going to make it themselves, and you're going to miss out. Or someone else is going to sell it. Okay, so you're throwing away a fortune here. Don't be a fool, right? To quote one of my favorite movies. Okay, so back to the letter. Quote: To those of you still waiting for your figure, we expect you should see it soon. Okay, that was 4 months ago that I ordered mine. Okay, quote: Your FLGS. Okay, FLGS. I forget what that stands for. It's something's gaming store. Somebody in the chat want to help me. FLGS. What does that stand for? Something something gaming store. Okay. Well, it's nice to get another female. That's who plays with me. Yeah, Striker, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with Strange Bus. The FOMO, fear of missing out, is such a popular strategy. Yeah, and the problem is the more of us that fall for it, the more they're going to keep doing it. It's just like with movies. When they say Hollywood's out of ideas. Well, it's not really out of ideas. It's just that they know that minimal effort creates maximum profit. So they keep churning out bad movies, and people keep paying to see them. So it's like we're telling them, hey, we want more of this. You vote with your wallet. Yeah, I sympathize with you, Striker. I mean, I fully expect at this point I'm never going to get the Guardian Knights, and that's okay. I guess I didn't want it that much in the first place. I just thought, oh, you know what? This is a cool product. I'm going to support it. Now I kind of feel bad for supporting it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the HeroQuest game system. Keller's Keep, Return of the Witch Lord. That's going to be in stores. That I fully support. This like limited edition nonsense, it's kind of annoying. As a strategy, it's not good, and it creates just a bad taste in your mouth as a fan. Okay, so Striker says it's nice to get another female. Yeah, so it's always been true that you've got little girls who like to play as little girl characters, just like you got boys who like to play boy characters. I don't think it's that big a deal. You can just use your imagination, but that's the way it is. So it's not really political correctness, but in a certain way, it's like done right, so to speak. That was a quote from another YouTuber said, "Hey, we're not forcing this on anybody, saying that you have to do it this way, but if you want it, here's this option. So you could have a knight that's a guy, you could have a knight that's a gal. Great. You're painting your figures. Hey, it's another thing to paint. So that's cool. That's why when they said, okay, the elf is female now, and it's the only female hero, it's like, why'd you do that? Um, and then I thought, well, okay, so they offered like a female barbarian, dwarf wizard, and a male elf. It's like, okay, well, just make that available for the future. So people want it, they can easily get it. But they didn't make it available. It was only for the pledge drive. So it's like, that was kind of annoying. So whatever. I don't know. Let's see. For those that got Mythic or the Knights, not I. I don't get why they can't release new Knights with the same stats. Striker doesn't have to be the exact same model even. Well, Striker, that's the thing. The way their letter is worded, it kind of sounds like they're saying, well, we're not going to release this exact figure in the future. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, meaning what? They could just do another one. But why? Why are they doing it that way? Did they break the molds? Is it they don't own the copyright to their own sculpture? Is that the reason? I mean, why can't they just reproduce it? They don't say why. They don't tell us why. And so as fans, we're just left to wonder. It's like because they hate us, because they're a crappy business, because They ran out of money. What's the reason? What's the reason? So if they're going to release another knight, but oh, the knight has a helmet now, and or it's a slightly different design, it's like, okay, well, they showed us a picture. Let's look at that picture again. They showed us this picture, and there's orcs in here. Look at this. There's an orc right there in the crowd. There's a bald guy with a beard. There's a smaller woman with her hair parted on the side and parted down the middle with braids. There's a guy with like cornrows. There's a guy with like a goatee. There's all these different. There's a guy with an eye patch and a ponytail. Another bald, clean-shaven guy. I mean, there's a oh, she's got pointed ears. So is that a like an elf type guardian knight? But there's all these different guardian knights. It's not just the man and the woman that we got in the recent pack. You know, somebody made a big deal about the race of the characters. It's like, does it matter? I mean, when you paint a figure, it can be any skin color you want. If you don't paint it, well, you just use your imagination. But there's nothing in the character that says they have to look a certain way. You've got the sculpt, yes, but you can do whatever you want with it, either by painting it a certain way or with your imagination. But anyway, there's lots of knights they could make. You know, they could release every single one of these, and there'd be people out there that would want to buy every single one just to own every single one. But that's the collector mentality. For me, I'm okay with just having a couple extra figures on the board. Makes it easy to keep track of the fact that, oh, you've got 4 heroes and then you've got 4 mercenaries, or you've got 6 heroes and 12 mercenaries. Maybe you're building an army. Who knows, right? But in the board game itself, it's 4 heroes versus probably an equal number of monsters. Maybe like 20 monsters per quest, something like that. And there's old quests where you hire mercenaries. So you maybe each of the 4 heroes hires like up to 4. So 4, 8, 12, 16. You could have 16 mercenaries. So you could easily use the knights as that. Or maybe there's a quest where your group joins another group and they're fighting or something. There's so many ways you could do it. But yeah, if they release like an alternate version, just like Sir Ragnar, I mean, they're like, well, you won't get this Sir Ragnar ever again. Well, you could release Sir Ragnar not as a prisoner, but as a knight, or as an old man, or as a young man. It could be anything, right? Just like you could release the barbarian wearing different gear than what you got him the first time, or her. Yeah. So FLGS. What does it stand for? Okay. So let's go to our search engine. FLGS. Hopefully, don't get any bad results here that would be inappropriate. Keep our FLGS Okay, friendly local game store. FLGS. I've never heard that term before. Okay, it's like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Okay, so they're talking about, like, for me, it's like Mayhem Comics. So in my part of the country, that's a big deal. There's so many other, there's like Games Plus One. There's all these places where it's just, a little hole in the wall, sole proprietorship or partnership type business. Couple of gamers running it. I mean, that's how Games Workshop got started back in the day. That's how, Stephen Baker got started. You get these guys that are working, usually it's guys. They're working at a game shop and they talk up the games and they love it. They don't get paid a lot, but they show the merchandise and they talk to customers and they offer space to play your games. It's friendly, local game store, whatever, FLGS. Okay, so quote, they say, your FLGS may also have some for sale, so please always consider shopping local. Well, it'd be nice to know where they are. I think Fane Flynn, who is one of our Yield In unboxing volunteers, said that, yeah, there's a local store that has a few. If you're interested, let me know and I'll give you the address because it was just a local thing. Quote, well, we're also aware that scalpers are already selling the item online for well over our MSRP, manufacturer's suggested retail price. Okay, I'm going to pause right there. So I use the term scalpers, and a few people got angry with me or expressed upset saying that I was like casting scalpers as like bad people or saying that somehow I'm saying it's wrong. Like, Under capitalism, it's okay to buy something and it's okay to sell that thing. It's like I'm not saying it's wrong to sell stuff. I'm not saying it's wrong to, get rid of something you don't want or give it to someone who wants it more. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you want to even make a profit from reselling something, I'm not saying that's wrong. But the term scalper is well known. Like it goes back to scalping tickets. Let's say you've got an event, like a sporting event or a concert or something, and somebody goes in there. They're not interested in the performance. They're not going to watch it themselves, but they buy extra tickets so that they can artificially limit the supply, and they'll wait outside the venue the day of and they'll sell it to you in the parking lot for like double the price. That's the old thought about scalping. And it's kind of scummy. It's kind of, is it really ethical to do that? Because you're artificially limiting the supply so that you can make a profit rather than, buying from an authorized seller. Because if something's sold out, you think, well, everybody that bought a ticket wanted to see it. And yes, it's true that maybe you buy a bunch of tickets for your friends and then at the last minute they cancel and you can't get a refund. So you're like, fine, I'll just sell these to whoever wants them. But I would say just sell it at the price that you bought it. Or maybe give yourself a tiny markup. You make your little profit. But selling it for twice, three times, four times the price, or whatever you want, just because there's some um, ignorant person with more money than sense who's going to buy it, I think that's kind of shady. And that's what the term scalper implies. And so they use the term scalper. So don't blame me. The company themselves are using it. And I'm sure they have no sympathy for those folks because they would rather sell their own product rather than, a product that just came out. Somebody is selling it for double the price on eBay. What's up with that? It's like a kid goes into a toy store. They walk into the toy aisle and they're like, "Oh, I want to buy Optimus Prime." He's not there. You know why? Because the day it was released, some adult drove up in their SUV, let's say, they walked into the store and they just said, "I'm buying the whole shelf." And they bought all the copies and they crammed them into their car and they left. All right. So now the kid, who was the intended audience, can't buy it. And they're crying and they're complaining, and their mom and dad are like, "Okay, well, we want to get it for you for Christmas. Go watch Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger," where they're mocking the whole Tickle Me Elmo thing from back in the day. Turbo Man. Everybody wants it. So these parents are now going on eBay and they're paying exorbitant prices, or they're looking for people who are selling bootlegs, of the product that they want. The whole problem was caused in the first place by the manufacturer underestimating how many, products to put out, and the scalpers knowing that they can make a profit by buying the stuff up. So that's a situation you've got to know as a company, you've got to know this exists. You've got to know that the way to defeat that is you keep putting the product out. And people are eventually going to get the message that, hey, I don't have to spend a ton of money on this. It's everywhere. I can buy it. And yes, you're getting money from the scalpers because they buy the product at least the first time. And you're also getting money from the customers. But the general population, who is much bigger than the scalper market, are going to be mad because the product isn't available from the person who created it. It's only available from these third parties who can charge whatever they want, you know. And there's no customer service. They don't care. They'll send you the product and that's it. They may have no customer service ability at all. It's just like let the buyer beware. So anyway, I'm glad they're acknowledging that fact. So let's go back to this. I feel like this we're not constitutional lawyers here. This is just a letter, but this is what they sent to their customers. This is public. Okay, we're also aware that scalpers are already selling the item online for well over our MSRP. The vendors we work with may have had protections in place to deter scalping, but please understand it is impossible to fully prevent such practices. Well, I agree, but you can limit them by not limiting your supply, not selling your product as a limited edition or exclusive pre-order, limited time, and only selling it through a couple of venues that won't have enough product, who won't be able to fulfill the demand. Okay. Quote, the best way to eliminate scalping is not to purchase items from scalpers at exorbitant prices. I agree with that. They're right about that. But at the same time, a manufacturer should do sufficient research so that you have a pretty good idea of your target audience's size and pretty much understand where those people are in the world, and then produce your product accordingly so that you can meet that demand. Okay. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but that would be the best way to do it. If you just rely on a little bit of word of mouth through Twitter and Facebook, and you kind of just throw a product out there and say, yeah, it's for a limited time, you're just going to have more of this sort of thing happen. So I think they shot themselves in the foot with this. And I know Avalon Hill does whatever Hasbro allows them to do and nothing more and nothing less. Maybe there's some people over there that care more. I kind of tend to think that Avalon Hill does care more, that they have more of a customer focused, customer friendly, fan friendly kind of belief. And Hasbro is like the big, money company that makes all the rules for them. And maybe they don't care as long as the bottom line is okay. Avalon Hill sounds like they're a little closer to the ground, they have their ear to the ground. They're more in touch with the pulse of the fans. That's good. But Hasbro needs to give them the freedom to apply that knowledge, to apply that know-how, because otherwise, I mean, everybody that works for this company looks bad because of the decisions of the higher ups. And that's a fact. That's true of anybody that works for any company. It's not fair, but it's true. So yes, somebody who tried to order the Guardian Knights is going to judge Avalon Hill and say, those jerks. I wanted to buy their product and they wouldn't let me buy it. They knew I wanted it and they teased me. They took it away, you know. So that's the message they send. And it's unfortunate. So next time they need to do better. They need to do more research. They need to communicate more with the fans. They need to produce enough product to satisfy the demand. It was a reasonably priced product, 15 bucks for 2 figures and 12 cards. Okay. And it was, just a piecemeal thing. So you had to have the HeroQuest game already for it to make sense. I mean, unless you were going to use it for something else. So this is turning it into a rant. I knew it would. It's a small thing, but it's a symptom of a larger problem in these communities where you have the scalping, you have the limited time exclusives, you had the lack of communication. A company bills itself as, oh, we're the family friendly, we're the fan focused toy game company, and then they do stuff like this. It's really annoying. And it hurts that enthusiasm and hope that everybody had to say, oh, HeroQuest is back. They care about the fans. They're giving us what we want. It looks like there's some problems here. So if they're serious, if they're honest, if they're acknowledging it, that's good. But they need to show some results. So next time, I'm not gonna pre-order from GameStop. For sure, not from GameStop. But I'm thinking I'm not going to pre-order at all. I'm just going to put myself in the shoes of the ordinary fan, not the elite collector. If they offer me something upfront, new, limited release, I'm not going to take it. Not that they would, because I'm nobody in the world of streamers, really. I mean, there's people that have millions of followers. I'm just small time. I'm HeroQuest fans. I did this because I wanted to reach out, beyond just the old in community and get people talking about the game and visually see stuff and someday, play live games. That's why I did it. Anyway, all right, back to the letter. So we're almost done. We're in the home stretch here. So, quote, looking forward, we believe HeroQuest has a bright future. We've hinted at the next release. I'm going to pause there. Obviously, they're talking about the Frozen Horror, the Barbarian Quest pack. So all I got to say is, if they don't want a repeat of this debacle, they need to make sure it is not limited edition, that it's not limited time only, that it's not an exclusive. They need to make it just like the retail releases for the 3 packs that they've done already. The games, HeroQuest game system, Keller's Keep, Return of the Witch Lord. So if they're going to do the Barbarian Quest pack, if they're going to do the Elf Quest pack, which I'm sure will be the next one, no proof of that, but I'm sure it will. It's natural for them to do that. Those need to be just as available as the others. So you need to be able to walk into Walmart, Kmart, Shopko, no, Target, and the online equivalents, Best Buy, and just see those boxes on the shelf. Not for $100, not for $200. I think Keller's Keep was like $35 or $30. Okay, make it 50 if you really think it's going to be that extensive. But when you run out of the first run, release it again. What's the problem, right? I mean, Reaper Bones, they do that with their miniatures. I mean, they run out, they release more. Maybe they do a slightly better sculpt of the same thing, but it's not just like, oh, they're gonna, make 10,000 of these and that's it. So anyway, HeroQuest will have a bright future if the people that are in charge of it want it to be that way and do it competently. So far, there's some problems. So they're kind of stumbling in the right direction, but there's still some problems. So they need to head this off before they just lose everybody, because really that's what it's gonna be. HeroQuest will fizzle out in a couple of years. Nobody is going to care anymore. They'll just go back to the tiny niche community it was, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. What it was up until November or September, October of 2020. Okay. Quote, we've hinted at the next release, and eagle-eyed viewers may have seen what we're up to at last year's PulseCon. Well, yeah. Quote, we've also released 2 free downloadable quests, Rogar's Hall and the Forsaken Tunnels of Zorzel, along with continued updates of the HeroQuest companion app. But we're already planning for much more after that. And knowing now just how excited our fans are, we have a better grasp on how large to make our print runs and to be prepared for multiple runs if needed. Okay, so I'm going to stop quoting right now. This sentence here is good, okay? I like that. I hope that they deliver on it. I hope Hasbro and their new leadership, because they have a new CEO as of February, because the other one passed away. I hope that they make good on this, okay? Because that will benefit them as a company. It'll benefit us as fans. Hey, great, do it. There's lots of companies out there that really don't understand their customer base, or I don't know, they talk down to their fans, they alienate their fans, they lose money, and then they blame us. And it's like, it's your own fault. You didn't do the right research, you listened to the wrong people, you underestimated how things go. I mean, you're a toy company. A toy is supposed to entertain. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to inspire the imagination. They're for kids, but they're also for the kids' parents. The parents and the kids, they interact, they have fun. It inspires your creativity. It, encourages your development. I mean, play is an important part of human life, right? So we think of toys as being frivolous things, but they're really not. I mean, you could, yeah, just because one toy is bad, okay, you get a different toy. Back in the day, people made toys. That's kind of coming back with 3D printing and that sort of thing. Games. What are games for? Well, games are for fun. Games are for passing the time. Games are for people bonding. You know, it's a diversion from the stresses of everyday life. Games also focus the mind. They encourage strategic thinking. There's all these things. They help your memory. You can learn how to count money from playing Monopoly. You learn about probability from rolling dice. There's so many things, and just it's a nice little break from work and the cares of everyday life. And games are for everyone. Everybody plays games. It doesn't matter how poor or how rich you are. Everybody plays games, even if they don't think about it that way. I mean, if you play chess, you you tell riddles. I mean, you tell stories that are open ended. There's so many things. People play fantasy football, and they're grown adults. So it's not just for kids. But games, toys, I mean, it's not you're not curing cancer, obviously, but it is important. It's an important part of culture. So just because you're a game or toy company doesn't mean you have no responsibility, no obligation. You still do have an obligation to put out your best work. And if you don't do that, if you don't communicate with your customers, if you don't give your customer base what they want, you're going to suffer, we're going to suffer, or we're going to move on to somewhere else where we will get what we're looking for. So I hope for their sake, I mean, some of these people, I don't know them on Avalon Hill, but they come across as wanting to, connect with the community, wanting to put out good products, wanting to tell, good stories, good characters. I applaud those people. I think, I hope that they make good on what they're saying here. I hope that they are rewarded for their earnest, honest, open efforts here. So anyway, this whole letter, it seems a little more open than I was expecting. I was expecting something very, highly edited, generic, diplomatic, almost legalistic kind of thing. You get these corporate messages and they're just very like promise nothing. The company is never wrong. Be very vague. Don't, just almost useless. But this one seems a little more personal. But they're taking more of a risk because if they give everyone an impression that they're going to promise something, then there's going to be expectations that they need to deliver on. So I hope for their sake that they're being honest and that they're being realistic about what they can do in the future. So continuing on, our goal is to improve our processes and products with every release, and listening to our fans is the best way for us to understand how to do so. We look forward to the exciting future of HeroQuest, and we hope you do too. The Avalon Hill team. End quote. All right, so that was the letter. It was Greetings Gamers, HeroQuest concerning the Guardian Knight. This was released several days ago. Oh, here they have a notice. Due to COVID-related circumstances beyond our control, shipping may be delayed. We apologize for any inconvenience and appreciate your patience. So this is more openness we've gotten from Hasbro and Avalon Hill, their subsidiary company, in a long time. It's taken them this long to come up with something to say to the fans, to the customers. It's taken them this long to admit the reality that we've all kind of suspected is impacting them. I mean, yeah, it's one thing if you can't, get your groceries or your toilet paper or something, or the gas is expensive. It's one thing if all that is true. And it's like, okay, a luxury good like a board game, a toy, yeah, that's going to be affected too, obviously. But the fact that they're admitting it is a good thing. So I'm disappointed that for all I know, my order is not going to be fulfilled. And it's not just me, but there's people out there that really wanted this figure. There's a lot of people out there that probably are not going to get their product now. They're just not going to get it. And then there's people that found out about it too late who didn't get it, in that 1 day window, didn't get a chance to place their pre-order, and so they're just never going to get it. So it's like, hey, here's this cool product that you never got. It's kind of like me when I found out about Warhammer Quest. Like I found out about it years after it had started already. And if I had seen it in a store for a reasonable price, I might have bought it back then, like in 96, 97. But I didn't hear about it until years later, and it was already like a collector's item. It was already vintage by that point. But if you'd given me a little bit more of a window to get in, I might have bought it. And I might not have. I might have thought, Hero Quest is good enough. I don't need this new game that's almost the same but slightly different. But yeah, they just need to do better if they want to please their customers. So that's all I'm going to say more on that. I guess I talked about that way longer than I thought I would. I thought I just kind of acknowledge what other people had said already. Said, yeah, it's kind of a dumb situation, but it is what it is. Thanks, Striker. Appreciate that. Um, oh yeah. So we're talking here in the chat. So I'm going to say great comments, everyone. Yeah, because really, I mean, part of growing your um, channel on Twitch is getting people to communicate, and I'm glad that you guys are communicating with me because it helps me out. But also the fact that, I mean, I'm on here ranting about my own opinion, and you can say, yeah, this guy's right, or this guy's full of it, or I don't care. I'm going to say what I think, but I may be wrong, and I like to consider other points of view. So the fact that you guys are talking helps me out. Okay, so let me go back in the chat here. We're as we stare into infinity. That's the figure my daughter picked because it's the only girl in the box. Yeah. Well, I have a niece, and yeah, she always gravitates towards the girl character. Ticket scalpers used to be considered the scum of the earth not too long ago. Yeah, I agree with you, Strange Bus. I mean, the thing is, it's like I can understand a person who makes excuses. They're like, listen, I've got a bunch of collectibles, but I got to feed my family, or I got a sick relative, or my dog, needs surgery, and so I'm going to sell my junk so that I can pay those expenses. But that I think is the exception. I think most of these scalpers, they know what they're doing. They're like, yeah, I can have a regular job, or maybe I do have a regular job, but I can make a lot more money just by buying this geeky crap that I don't care about, but I know other people do, and just charge them an arm and a leg. And I contribute to the limited supply. I prey upon, these people who have to buy everything. It's this idea of let the buyer beware. You're saying, yeah, these people are so stupid. They're easy to con. They're easy to swindle. They're easy to fool. So, hey, it's not my fault that they're so dumb. And I don't know. I think that's a bad attitude. It makes you seem like a bad person if you think that way. And maybe they don't. Maybe they're like, no, no, I'm legit. I'm just providing a service. I'm just helping people out. But you really don't. You're really hurting it. You're hurting more than you're helping. You're just helping yourself. So yeah, supply and demand, man, or they say capitalism, man. But there's a right way to do it, and there's a scummy, kind of dirty, gross, like inhuman way to do it. You know, it's like I'm going to take advantage of the fact that this stranger, doesn't know that bus tickets are $1, and I'm going to say, hey, here's a bus ticket, $5. And I mean, if I tell him, yeah, it's $1, if you just walk down the street, it's $1. I've got one for $5. If you don't want to walk down the street, you can buy it from me for 5. And if he says sure, it's like, okay, well, I guess that's his problem now. But they take advantage of the fact that people are ignorant. And it doesn't help that the company is not putting out much information. So yeah, it's a whole big thing. Yeah, there's so many other things we could re-ranting about, but I try to keep the politics out of this. So yeah, I know economics and politics, they get tied together. There's all these marketing theories, economic theories. I don't know. I just know that yeah, when you want a product, an innocent product, and somebody else is actively limiting the supply and they're upcharging you for it, just seems a little underhanded and not pleasant. So just because you're a scalper doesn't mean you're a bad person, but I wonder. You know what I mean? I wonder about it. Ticket scalping when I grew up was not even legal. Yeah. And again, when I say scalping, I'm not talking about like you bought a ticket for $5 and you're selling it for 6. It's kind of like what are they like exorbitant? What does that mean? Does that mean double, triple? It's like they used to talk about usury, like usury laws. And again, not getting into the economic legal theory, but what is exorbitant interest? Is it 1%? Is 5%? Is it 10, 20? Like at what point does it cross over from reasonable to unreasonable? So yeah, it's one thing if a company like, oh, Toys R Us is gonna sell their stuff for double the price. Well, they're gonna lose customers, but Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore. But if somebody buys all of Toys R Us's games and is now selling them for double the price. That's annoying. Yeah. See, I wasn't gonna say it, Strange Bus, but that's pretty much what it is. PS5s are 500. They're averaging for 1,100 right now. See, I would never buy a game console for that much. Never. And I love video games. And the thing is, a lot of these game consoles, they come out and they look really cool. And I even see some of the games and think, these games look great, you know? But then I look at the price and I think, okay, so I could buy an older console that's less popular for like a quarter of the price, and I'd have just as much fun. Yeah, I wouldn't have the latest thing. Yeah, the online community would be smaller. I mean, that's if you play multiplayer all the time, which I like to play multiplayer with certain games. Um, it's like, yeah, why spend all that money? I mean, you choose how you spend your money. Maybe one person wants to buy a game console for $1,000. Great. Maybe I would rather spend that same thousand, but I'm gonna buy some miniatures. I'm gonna buy some books. I'm gonna buy, some supplies for my hobby. Okay, I've spent the same amount of money, but now I have all these things that I can, spend my creative energy on. I can have lots of fun. I can, do whatever. You do you, as they say. But yeah, it's kind of like Nintendo has done this, Sony has done this, a lot of these companies have done this, where you've got a million fans, you only make 10,000 copies, and just let people fight over them. It just seems like a bad practice. And yeah, it's some of it's yeah, I don't know what they're thinking, because they have shareholders and other people they're beholden to. It's not just a company that just does whatever the CEO wants. Whatever they want to do, that's it. He could be an idiot, a moron, but he's just going to do what he wants. It's not so pure like that. They have other people that they're responsible to. They have research they can do. There's so many things. So yeah. So we'll get into a rant. It's true of a lot of products. It's not just HeroQuest, obviously. But yeah, when I see a console that's so expensive where the manufacturer is limiting the supply, people are scalping it, I just say, you know what? I'm just going to wait. I don't care. Enough. Maybe I want an Xbox One. Maybe I want an Xbox Series X. Maybe I want a PS5 or PS4. But the fact that they're treating their customers like this and they're making the situation like this, I don't need to be a part of it. I don't want to support it. So I'm going to wait until it's $200. Then I'll buy it. How about that? Or I'm going to wait till it's $100. I'm going to wait until I've played as much as I want of my 360, and maybe then I'll consider it. So they're missing out on my money, and they're maybe people I would have brought in, friends of mine. Yeah, because most of my friends have newer consoles than I do. Great. But if I had followers that came with me, and it's like they want to play me in a game, well, they don't get to play me because I don't have the new console. So yeah, so the company suffers, the community suffers on a small scale by doing this sort of thing. Because yeah, in maybe 2-3 years from now, PS5s will be cheaper, more people will have them. Okay, well maybe then we'll think about it. But for now, they're not getting my money. It's just how it is. I'd probably buy a new computer before I'd buy. I mean, I would rather buy a new computer for the 1,000 than trying to buy a PS5. Yeah. So Strange Bus, good guy. Don't agree with him on everything, but he's got some solid points there. I definitely agree with him on that. So, yep. Symptom of a larger problem. Absolutely. Yeah. And you wonder, why was scalping illegal? It's kind of like they recently made it legal to gamble on sporting events. Well, why was it illegal for so long? You can say, hey, it was a dumb law. They should never have had it. But there's some concerns there. The sort of corruption, the kind of dirty, underhanded atmosphere that it creates, even if it's legal. You know, it preys upon a certain weakness that people have, and it creates a worse experience for everybody. It kind of dilutes the original love of the game, love of the sport, whatever it is. Yep. So Strange Bus got a PS5 for 800. Well, rather than 1100, I mean it's cheaper than a new laptop. Well, a lower end laptop I guess would run you about that much. But yeah, I could get a an Xbox One for like 250, I think. But still, to me, that's a little too high. I mean, I remember back in the day, yeah, inflation and everything, but back in the day, like you had the Philips CDI, you had the Atari Jaguar, you had the Amiga CD32. These new consoles that were cutting edge at the time in the 90s, and they were much more expensive than like what Nintendo and Sega and Atari had. Well, I guess Atari Jaguar was Atari. Yeah. So a console would come out for like $250 and then it would get marked down to 100 and then it's like, "Oh, okay, that's when you buy it." You know, the Nintendo Entertainment System, $100. Buy it. But then, oh, a Sony PlayStation, $500. It's like, I'm going to wait until the price comes down on that thing. Yeah. Yeah, so Strange Bus, a lot of those consoles, they came out and they were really expensive. 100% agree with you. But by the time they got to retail stores, they would get marked down pretty quickly. So like maybe a year after, I don't know the exact time frame, but yeah, and in different parts of the country they were different prices. That's fair. So I lived in the Midwest and stuff would be cheaper by the time we got it. So maybe if you lived in California, you would get it like, day one and it was super expensive and so you got early adopters, but yeah, it took time. It's like VHS tapes. I mean, a lot of people forget VHS tapes were like $100 or more when they came out. So when a movie came out, like it had been out of theaters for a year or two, you get the VHS tape, nobody would buy it. Instead, these video stores would buy it, and you go to the video store and you rent it for a couple dollars, right? Watch it for 2 or 3 nights, and then that's it. And you would have seen it in the theater or whatever. And then years down the line, after it's done being rented, then you could buy the VHS tape. I mean, I never spent more than $20 for a VHS movie. A 2 hour movie, big blockbuster, you know, 10, $20. So, yeah. Yeah, you can find all that information, MSRBs. 3DO wasn't popular due to price and game library. I agree with you. Yeah. A lot of those consoles were very expensive when they came out. It was typical, though, that like $200 was the high end. Yeah. Yeah, thank you both for joining us, Striker and Strange Bus. Yeah. So go over and visit their channels. Absolutely. We gotta help each other out. Yeah. I was noticing that a lot of his visitors come to my streams as well. I think that's cool because I do know Strange Bus and hang out with them sometimes, so we'll support each other. But yeah, you get these new consoles, and yeah, maybe 500. I mean, 700 is a lot. I remember the Neo Geo. It was like $650. That was for two joysticks, a system, and no game. Or maybe it had one game. Yeah, I think they did have one game. It was like $650. Or you could spend like $500 for one controller and no game. And the games, I think the cheapest games were like $50, but because you'd pay 50 or 60 for like a new Sega Genesis game or new Super Nintendo game. But most of the Neo Geo games were like $100 or $200. I think some of the higher end games were more than that. But yeah, so a lot of Neo Geo players, you just went to video arcades and you played a game for 50 cents. That's what you would do. You play in the arcades because it was the same identical game. It wasn't like Nintendo and Sega and Atari where they didn't have the hardware to emulate the game. And so these conversions they had for popular titles, like Double Dragon and RoboCop and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all these games, they were downgraded. They downgraded the graphics for the hardware. And yeah, the console versions were more popular because more people could access it. A game is in an arcade for a couple of years and then it's gone. You spent a couple dollars at the arcade and that's it. So yeah, video arcades were kind of like the VHS rentals of the video gaming world. You play it there first because who's going to buy an arcade machine for two, three, four, $5,000? Nobody, except an arcade operator. And you're gonna, yeah, RoboCop. Yeah, so the average person is just going to go to the arcades, and then yeah, oh, Final Fight, that looks like a cool game. I'll spend my 50 cents and I'll put a couple dollars in the machine and then I'll go home. Then a couple years later, the Super Nintendo version comes out and it's 50 bucks. Okay, I'll spend 50 bucks, play that game for a couple of weeks, whatever, or go to the video store and just rent it for a couple of weekends. And yeah, they always made the American versions of those games so hard that you couldn't possibly beat it usually in a weekend. It would take you multiple rentals, or you had a Game Genie or something. And I think actually in Japan, Strange Bus could probably tell me. In Japan, I want to say that renting games was actually not legal for a long time. So a lot of these console games, the games were easier because they knew that you would be buying the game rather than just renting it. And it's because if you rented it and beat it like in one sitting, you might not think it's worth 50 bucks to buy, right? You got your fill. Just kind of like if you rented a movie and you watched it, and that wasn't that great. It was okay. So I also remember when I was a kid, a lot of these game consoles, you know, they'd buy an NES, Nintendo Entertainment System. Yeah, stricter law. They'd buy the Nintendo Entertainment System, and then a few years later, so that was like 85, 86, Sega Genesis comes out in 89, 90. So you sell your NES and you buy a Genesis. Then Super Nintendo comes out in 91. So you sell your Genesis and you buy the Super NES. Because what parent is going to say, "Oh yeah, let's have a pile of 10 consoles." From their point of view, it's like, "Okay, okay kid, you're going to spend like all your after school time playing this video game. Well, you only need one, right?" And that was the reason why with HeroQuest, like we didn't buy every single expansion that existed. We had the game system. It's like that's it, really. Okay, yeah, Keller's Keeper to the Witch Lord, but you're not going to fork over for the Barbarian and Elf Quest packs because you've already got the game. You've already got a game to spend your time on. Why don't you play that first? But a lot of these kids, they would sell off whatever they had and they would get the newest one. So it's like trading in your slightly older car to get the newer car. The Famicom had a larger library, shovelware included. I agree. Yeah, the Famicom, the Japanese version of the NES, did have a larger library. It was around longer. Genesis does what Nintendo. Yeah, I that could be a whole rant, Strange Bus, on the advertising marketing. And yes, James Rolfe did it, and Angry Nintendo Nerd, AVGN. A lot of the marketing was brand loyalty focused, and a lot of fans bought into it. It's kind of like Coke and Pepsi. There really isn't that much difference between them, or WWE, WCW, all these different things, Marvel, DC. It's more or less the same product. It's just there's slight differences, and you get people that are loyal to one versus the other, and they play upon that. Like, oh, you're cool, you're with the in crowd. Yeah. Well, hey, AVGN is one of the more popular online personalities of all time, so we're all jealous of him. We all want to be him, but we also all don't want to be him. So, but he's out there. People know who he is. So yeah. Um, yeah, the brand loyalty thing is another rant. But if you've got competing products, yeah, if you've got enough money and time, you can own both. So I knew people that had both Sega and Nintendo. And it was just like, oh, I want to play Super Mario Brothers. I get Nintendo. I want to play Sonic. I get Genesis. It's like, whatever. It's not like, oh, who's better? Who would win in a fight? Sonic or Mario? It's like, or you're cool if you have one and you're, a loser if you have the other. It's like, whatever. Yeah. All right. So now we're talking about other stuff, but that's all right. Thanks, guys, for the conversation. I appreciate it. A lot of times we just don't get to talk about much because people just want to lurk, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with lurking. But yeah, some of the folks that we've got here today are new, so welcome to those people, and the returning people, thank you. So I think we're just gonna talk. I'm just gonna show you a couple things that I'm working on, just for fun here. I've ranted enough. You didn't come here just to hear me rant, so these are not endorsements here. This is Simple Green. So for years, people have been telling me, okay, you should buy this stuff for paint stripping. stripping paint off of miniatures, because you buy these vintage miniatures and they got paint on them. I mean, this is something I did, but um, see how that guy's got paint on the sword. Like maybe you buy this guy and you just, instead of slopping paint over someone else's job, you want to do it yourself. So you could soak him in that simple green and it won't damage the plastic. Now this is a resin 3D printed miniature. I'd do some more research before I would dunk this guy in that stuff. But I got pretty good results on the Warhammer Fantasy Elf. I've actually got him in it got like 99% of the paint off. Soaking him in this stuff for like a couple of days and then scrubbing it with an old toothbrush and using like not a toothpick, but a bamboo skewer to like kind of scratch off some of the stuff that was in the nooks and crannies, but it didn't get everything. So now I'm trying this stuff. This was recommended to me. Super clean degreaser. This stuff is a little more harsh. So I'm like, okay, I hope it doesn't melt the plastic. But people claim that for plastic miniatures, styrene, polymer, it's supposed to be safe, but you're supposed to wear gloves and goggles for this stuff. So it's a little harsher. And there's another product which I don't have. I mean, people were telling me, oh, you can buy it in any dollar store. I went to my local dollar store, Dollar General, I think it's called. They didn't have it. It's called LA Awesome. So if this stuff doesn't work, I'm going to get LA Awesome. But LA Awesome is supposed to be the best of these not super toxic, nasty chemicals that are plastic safe. Simple Green is not quite as good. This is supposed to be better, and then LA Awesome is the best. So we'll see if this does the job. But a lot of these miniatures you try to get on eBay, these vintage miniatures like Space Crusade, Hero Quest, Battle Masters, whatever, they're kind of half painted. They don't look that good, but they're marked down because they know people want like just the pure plastic that they can paint themselves, nice, clean. Or maybe you like the original look of it. You don't want to do anything to it. Just like, oh, this is a Warhammer Fantasy Battle Skaven Ratman. But this little sword, I mean, his sword was broken off, so I got one of those plastic skewer swords that you get for like olives, for martinis or mixed drinks or club sandwiches, and I clipped it off and I just glued it on there and painted it. And I put a little wire. I drilled a hole through his fist with my little hand drill, my unpowered hand drill, and cleaned that out. And it took forever, of course. And then I put a little piece of wire through there and some acrylic putty to glue it in there, and I think it turned out pretty well. The actual sword looks a little different than this, but I think it turned out pretty well. And these bases, this is from Zealot Miniatures. They produce some bases that are very similar to the HeroQuest style bases. Like a squeezed hexagon. I mean, it looks like a rectangle, but this is 3D printed, obviously, but it's very similar in size and shape. And I sawed off the slot base, the little tab, and I just super glued him on there. So I'm pleased how that turned out. But yeah, that's an example of something you can do. But if I were to paint this guy and change my mind, I mean, I could slop more paint on top. Eventually, you're going to lose detail. So you use the paint strippers. Anyway, I'm new to the paint stripping stuff. I don't want to like blow myself up or something, or burn my skin with some nasty chemicals. Oh yeah, here's what the original sword looks like. But see, when I ordered this guy, he didn't have a sword. So I didn't have access to a 3D printer to try to 3D print a blade. It obviously doesn't look the same. I mean, I could cut some notches in there. People have talked about using green stuff for sculpting. But apparently I need to take a sculpting course because trying to sculpt on this scale, I'm just no good at it. I mean, it looks really crude, really bad. I just don't have the right tools or patience or skills. But it's a fun little hobby. Here's some other miniatures I have. So these were 3D printed, and because I printed them in black, it's like, okay, or painted them in black, it's hard to see the detail. Kind of looks like a Zargon type figure, doesn't it? So, whoops. Let's see. See, now if that guy had shattered, I would have thought, gee, I wasted my time and money on that. So I've started painting him a little bit. I don't know if I'm just I might just keep them black. I don't know. I'll think about it. I'm much more inclined to keep these guys as they are. I don't know. It's just something in me that thinks, okay, this is what the original board game piece would have looked like. I'm gonna keep it like that. And these 3D printed guys, yeah, I'll just paint them to my heart's content. Because one, I'm kind of learning how to paint miniatures. I'm not a pro, but I don't mind screwing up on those. Now this figure, just do a little mini review. So Hero Forge, a lot of people know about something called Hero Forge. It's a website where you can design your own miniatures. They give you the parts and you can pose them and you create the guy and you can buy it. Well, I thought after seeing another review somebody had done, I thought, okay, I'm going to get my own miniature. And I chose to get the colored 3D printed color plastic. It was $44 for a single figure. And yeah, the idea is you go to your gaming table, your board game group, and you print your own unique hero and you take it with you. Okay, that's only one. You're not building an army. You're not doing that. But it was not worth it. I mean, this guy was not worth $44. This is a 1-inch scale base. And as I was painting him, because the colors were really muted, they just didn't look very good. I mean, when I designed the 3D model on the website, I mean, he had like chrome, shiny gold. Um, the bodysuit looked like leather. I know it looks like RoboCop, but what this actually is supposed to be is Captain Power from Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future, which was 1987, which is, yeah, after RoboCop. Or no, 88? I'd have to check. Check IMDb. But yeah, it's clearly inspired from RoboCop, but it was a kids show, family show, not an NC-17, rated R movie. But yeah, he did not look very good. So I painted him up. While I was painting him, sorry, it's kind of dry. Just pop another lozenge here. I dropped him, and I just dropped him on the floor, just a linoleum kitchen floor. Bounced, and this gun just broke completely off, just snapped clean off. So even though this is 3D printed plastic, this is not resin. It's pretty sturdy, but obviously that piece broke right off. So I glued it back on. Can barely even tell. Kind of looks like he has a Nintendo Zapper, doesn't it? But yeah, this is Captain Jonathan Power. Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. That was a cool show because you're watching the show and it has, primitive CGI effects. So choked up thinking about Captain Power and, his struggle against Lord Dread and his evil Bio-Dread empire in the year 2147. Just kidding. So cheers to Dead Gamer. I always toast him when I'm having a sip of beverage here to keep my throat moistened. Weather is much better, but it's still just a little bit dry. We're finally getting out of the winter and into the spring. So anyway, I like the figure. I like the way it looks. But yeah, I probably would have paid a lot less for this if I had known any better. But anyway, that was my experience with Hero Forge. Their system's pretty good. A lot of their figures, like this, the stuff is oversized, and I realize they're doing that because of the scale. But it's an aesthetic. I wish there was more options. It's always the way. But what they do offer is, yeah, you can get. I could have gotten this guy printed in polished bronze for like $100, I think, or $70 or something like that. I chose the colored plastic. Probably the best way to do it is just find somebody who has a 3D printer or buy your own 3D printer and just buy the STL file that you created for like $7.99, I think is what it is. And yeah, it's a little bit more expensive than buying like a Reaper Bones miniature plastic that's polymer that's super sturdy. Those are like $3 to $5 unpainted. But since I ended up painting this guy anyway, I wasted my money by getting a pre-colored plastic miniature. I mean, it was just a learning experience. So that's my recommendation. If you use Hero Forge, just get the STL file and print it yourself. So if you want to make an army or whatever. I mean, if you want to buy a little bronze sculpture, I guess it's up to you. It's your money. Other stuff here. So this is the Orc War Boss from the Assault on Black Reach Warhammer 40,000 figure that I'm working on. I didn't do much to this guy. Again, minimally painted set, and I'm going to be using these guys with Space Crusade. This guy is probably not going to factor in because he's huge. He's just gigantic. I mean, the other orcs, the other space orcs in the set are much smaller. And so those guys are much easier to fit into that Space Crusade game, which is kind of like a Hero Quest type game, except it's much more focused on like individual combat and less about the quest. But yeah, I use some washes to kind of make the bones stand out a little bit more. But clearly, you can see on camera, it's like hard to see the detail. So I probably need to use a different black for his clothes so that you can see kind of the highlight and shadow. So, because I wanted it to look like he was wearing leather clothes with shiny black metallic armor, like almost like cast iron looking armor. And then, of course, the details with the gold gun, the kind of grimy, oily, metallic claw, and of course the white teeth, the little camera, mechanical eye with the red, and then the white skull, and some little details like the fangs and the earring. Yeah, I mean, this guy could look like anything, right? I mean, I could put decals on him. I like the figure, but he's probably just going to be like just for something for me to practice on and learn how to paint, as opposed to something I'm going to use in an actual game, unless it's like a cutscene. Like this is the guy that gives you your mission or something. Like, go kill everybody. Like, yeah, boss. So what else do we have here? I found this at just a store at the mall. They were selling like all this um, like Asian stuff to decorate your house with. It's just a dragon. I was thinking this looks like it could be a figure in a game. You know, two square monster could be a good guy, could be a bad guy, but compare the scale. Because as much as those Dungeons and dragons look cool, to me it strains plausibility a little bit. I mean, yeah, you're playing with in a game with space wizards and real wizards and monsters and things. When you've got a dragon that's the size of a house, I mean, how do you expect a guy with a sword to be able to take that dragon down? It seems a little far fetched. And actually, if you look at dragons in ancient literature, like, St. George and the Dragon, that type of stuff, if you look at those old woodcuts and things, the dragons aren't that big. I mean, maybe they're the size of a horse or an elephant, but they're not the size of a building. They're not dinosaur, T-Rex sized, most of them. Because then you're not talking about one knight, you're talking about like a whole army trying to take them down. Hit that thing with some catapults or something. So for a game like Hero Quest, which is focused on, having four heroes in a dungeon, facing off mostly against monsters their own size, orcs and goblins and fimers and chaos warriors. I mean, having a dragon that's like that size would be perfect. So I just thought, and this is kind of a really hard resin, almost a stone consistency, and the fact that it was like a solid color. Here, let's view it in the light. Kind of a burgundy. Yeah. So anyway, there is Japanese Hero Quest, and it just uses the same classic Western designs, which was, I'm sure, its charm, its selling point. But having a little more Eastern looking stuff in there was kind of a nice little variation. These are 3D printed dice I got from Etsy, and they have a transparent look to them. There's something about transparent dice that fascinates me, even though it's just kind of a passing aesthetic. It doesn't really matter that much. But see how these are HeroQuest dice. They're the same size, and it's hard to see the detail on them though. It's the only thing. If you're rolling these dice, you're like, wait, what is that? Is that a skull? Okay. So I took my metallic marker and colored the faces in a little bit, and it looks a little better. And this is actually the chrome Molotow chrome pen, but the chrome effect is lost. It doesn't look like a mirror. It just looks like shiny silver. because of the striated surface, 3D printed surface. So anyway, I'm just practicing the effect because I want to retain that kind of transparent look. The other thing is because it's 3D printed, it's not like polished. It doesn't look like a casino die where, you can see perfectly through it to make sure there's no bubbles or nobody's cheating with the dice. But yeah, they roll fine. But yeah, if I were playing on Zoom, I also saw that Zoom. Now I haven't played on Zoom with HeroQuest for years, but not years. Let's say it's been several months. It's been almost a year, probably since the last time I played a live HeroQuest game. Pointing the camera at the board and everything. They are extending their free basic Zoom where there's no time limit and you can have up to 3 people for free. They're only extending that until June, and then that's going away. So I guess after that you're gonna have the time limit, or you're gonna have to pay. I think it's like $100, $150 for Zoom. So it's too bad that's going away. But I know that the COVID stuff. I mean, during COVID, a lot more people were using their product, and so they offered it for free with no limits, which was cool. I mean, it would be cool to have 5 people playing HeroQuest remotely. I mean, ideally, I'd rather be playing in person, but if you can't do that, play over Zoom, stream it, whatever, record it, and you do it for free. Now, if somebody has a subscription that they're paying for, your friends can join for free. You don't have to pay anything. So, but anyway, if you're using Zoom, you may want to take advantage before that's gone. Take advantage of that deal. So, what else? There was one other thing I wanted to talk about, and I know we're kind of ending our time here. And I do want to do a stream tomorrow if possible, and I want to do some more Space Crusade. My plan is to use the Orcs again, and then maybe throw in some Eldar because I want to use them, but maybe I'd have another mod basically having, instead of Space Marines going into battle, I'd have some Orcs and some Space Elves. Space Orcs and Space Elves working together, mass hysteria. So there was this whole thing about battle foam. People are obsessed with battle foam. You go into any game shop, you can buy these big gray blocks of squishy foam, and it kind of reminds me of what they call pick foam, where you buy an expensive camera and you've got a suitcase. You open up the suitcase and it's full of this gray foam, and it's got little squares that are kind of pre-cut, and you can just pull the squares out and you create a little depression in the foam and you can put your camera in and it fits perfectly. But that stuff is really expensive. I mean, yeah, you got the metal suitcase and then you've got all the foam. Well, some people decided that, oh, we're going to sell this for board games. And so you can buy a pre-cut form that you set inside your HeroQuest box, and it has spots for each of the figures and each of the furniture and the dice and the cards, and it all fits in there. And it kind of raises the box up like a couple inches. But the stuff is super expensive. It's like Feldhar foam, battle foam, and it's like, I want to say it's like $100. So you pay it $100 for the game, and now you're paying $100 for a block of foam. To me, that seems overkill. Not only because it's $100. I mean, somebody else was selling it for 50. Well, that's a lot of money for just a big block of foam. For one, if you're like me, you are making all these mods for the game anyway and adding to it. So almost instantly, it's not going to be right because you're going to need more stuff in the box and it takes up space. The other thing is, for HeroQuest at least, the miniatures are not fragile at all. They are sturdy, they're heavy duty, they're kind of rubbery plastic so that you can bend them and twist them and cram them into spaces and they're going to be fine. It's not like metal where, just the slightest pressure or, sliding around in the box is going to cause it to bend or break. I mean, yeah, if you paint your stuff and you don't cover it with varnish, it's not going to be protected. It's going to bang against stuff inside and it's going to get scratches and dings and stuff. And if it's 3D printed resin, this stuff is kind of fragile. If you drop this, it's going to break, or pieces of it are going to crack. I've had some smaller pieces on some of these 3D printed figures that have broken off. So yeah, foam makes sense, but for HeroQuest, you don't need it. you really don't need it. It's a completely unnecessary luxury item that they obviously took advantage of the fact that so many people use that stuff. I mean, there's different kinds of foam and all that stuff, but to me, if you're going to go that route, there's a much cheaper way to do it. So look at this stuff. See this? This is just foam. I don't know the technical name for this, but it's yellow. It starts out white, but then as it gets exposed to air and sunlight, it starts to turn yellow. There's this stuff, almost the same. This is green. If you buy stuff online a lot like I do, like when you get the stuff, it's either in bubble wrap or it's in this. So in the old days, I might have just thrown this stuff away. I keep it. You can cut this stuff with the scissors. If you have they call it an automatic carving knife, like an electric carving knife. Like, so instead of cutting your turkey, you can cut this stuff and you can cut it really easily. If you have one of those, it's not a box cutter. It's like, you know what I'm talking about? It's like you grab the arm and you slam it down. It's like a paper cutter, one of those. Those work really well too, or just a really sharp scissors and some patience. You can cut the stuff any way you want to, and you can use X-Acto knife, razor blade. To me, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, die cut, but you can have some pretty good results. I've seen videos on YouTube, people doing it yourself. And yeah, you could say at a certain point, again, it's like the scalper thing. It's like, well, how much is your time worth? Somebody else is going to do the work for you, but they're going to upcharge you. I'd rather buy a big block, like a big, huge block of this stuff for like $10 and just cut it myself. And in an hour, let's say I'd have it done versus spending 100 or 50 for somebody to give me one that's gray that has the little spots already cut out that I'm not going to need anyway. So anyway, that's my little rant about Feldar foam and Battle foam. Just use this stuff. I'll show you how I've chosen to do it for mine. So this is again, I'm a budget gamer. I do this stuff. I probably spend more money than the average person, but I don't spend as much as like they're asking you to. If you go to one of these hobby shops and you could just buy everything and you'd still just be getting started. So this is just a fishing box. This is like for fishing tackle, but it's perfect for what I wanted to do. So look at this. So this stuff, what is this? So this is just plastic, of course. These are just little blocks of that foam. I just cut them out, made little dividers. So we just got some HeroQuest figures in there, some 3D printed stuff. These are the skewers I was talking about. Like I'll buy these, bunch of these at you could get them at a grocery store, you can get them at a liquor store. Just cut them up, use them for swords and spears and things. So this stuff is this is craft foam. This stuff. So I just cut it to the shape that I wanted. I kind of pressed it on there to get the rough shape, and then I cut it out with scissors. And this just makes the bottom kind of protected. It attracts dust like nothing else though. These are Reaper miniatures there. But yeah, I just cut that out, put it in there, and this stuff. I mean, you get a sheet of this for like $1 or less at like a hobby store, like a Joann Fabrics, Hobby Lobby, that kind of place. You can get all different colors. This yellow stuff is called furniture foam, or like a chair pad, furniture pad, high density foam. Like there's different kinds. You can get the stuff that's completely rigid and like, you make a cut in it and it stays there. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm not talking about memory foam, which is like fairly expensive. This is just like chair pad, furniture pad, foam. You can get it in sheets. You can get it in blocks. But it's much cheaper than the pick foam that they use for like cameras and electronics and stuff, even though it looks cooler. So I don't care about presentation. This is just about storage. So I can put this thing together. I can take it to family game night. I can take it to the neighborhood group. I can take it over to my family or friends, and it'll store everything that I want in there. So yeah, Games Workshop will sell these big things, these big suitcases. You can put everything in there. This to me, this does everything that I want, and it's so cheap in comparison. I think this whole thing is like $10, and then the foam is like $1 or $2. This was probably $10, the whole big huge block. I mean, this is more foam than I would need ever, and I can just cut off little pieces and use them. But if you order a product and it comes with some foam, it's like save that stuff, cut it out. I love that. I love that part of crafting. You find something and instead of just throwing it away, you find a use for it. People joke about their junk drawer. It's like you're never going to use that stuff. Well, I might. I might use that stuff. So here, I've shown this stuff before, but yeah, I mean, these are Reaper miniatures. You put those in there. Light's a little harsh there. Keeps the stuff from bouncing around. You can adjust it, so if you got a smaller or bigger figure, you can put the stuff underneath it. I mean, it's not glued down. So like this guy's sword is just tucked right underneath there. It works well. But I mean, you look at that and it's organized. It's not, but I mean, somebody might wants to buy battle foam. They want it just to be a big gray block with squares that are the exact fit for everything. I mean, people on Etsy will sell like it's like a wood block and everything's carved, and you don't have to go that fancy. So then you've got the second tier, and I just pull this thing out. There it is. It's just pressing down on these figures, and these are rubbery, so they don't get damaged by this. Now, I did make a mistake here. I've shown this before, but I glued this guy down and I glued the painted plastic to the painted plastic instead of gluing it directly to the plastic. So I'm just going to set this guy aside and re-glue him. But yeah, I like these bases. And I made these bases myself. I took like the end of these hose or pipe like end caps, and I just cut the thing off and I painted it, carved it, you know. But yeah, and I just kind of shaved that down so it fit. Put that in there. Good enough, and I've got figures in there. I got figures in here. Just wherever they'll go. I thought that'd be a cool mentor figure, kind of a wizard, transparent wizard. But yeah, I definitely went with the solid color look. So there's a 3D printed figure. Just gave it a little wash so that there's hardly any detail on that thing. It's a really poor scan of that figure. Yeah, there's a little goblin. Yeah. So, yeah, you can do a lot of things. And then you get the bottom. So I used a bigger piece, that foam, just kind of scraped it out with razor blade, scissors. And I've got all my bigger figures down here. Now, some of these guys I didn't varnish because I liked the matte look, and they kind of got scratched up, and I had to redo the paint on some of them. But it's not like, a metal toolbox where they're going to be bouncing around as you travel. Because this is the idea. I throw this in the back of the car, take it with me to the game session. If you're one of those people that likes to go to these game shops and, play in their game space in the back, get a table, play with some strangers or friends, this would be perfect for you. Just remember that, not to leave it behind. Put your name on it or something. Easy to carry, secure. You could decorate this. I guess you could put stickers on it. You could paint it, whatever you want to do. But this is a smaller one. They have like a 3-tiered one. This is technically a 2-tray. I mean, there's one in the bottom, obviously, and there's always this thing. But there's a 3-tray version, which I also have back there. But it's not fully tricked out. I haven't put all the foam dividers and everything yet. But it works for me. And again, $10 versus like $50. The foam is like $10 versus $100 or $50. Plus, a lot of times you're ordering this stuff and it's coming from another country, and they've got their supply chain issues too. So you're going to be waiting forever. Just go to your local furniture shop or your local big box retail store. Go to your hobby store, get your cheap foam, use it for what you want. You don't have to buy the official Games Workshop or, Dungeons and Dragons, official thing. Because yeah, it saves you a little bit of time, but you're paying a lot more for it. And plus, you get the satisfaction of knowing I designed this, I made this, this is mine. It's crafted exactly for what I need. And there's so many channels online that'll tell you how to do this stuff. So if you can't figure it out, or if you want tips or tricks, there's so many people doing it. There's people on Twitch who do it. So check that out. Do a little research, and you can save yourself a bundle. And hey, that extra money that you've got left over, think about what you could use. You could buy more miniatures. You buy more game books. Whatever. You can spend it on gas as you're traveling around to your different gaming groups. I mean, there's so much you can do. You can spend it on a better camera, better internet connection if you're playing over Zoom. So, yeah, just throwing that out there, because the hobby is what you make of it. I mean, for me, I prefer to play these games, but I also enjoy kind of gathering little found objects together, and I enjoy kind of modifying things to my liking. Just kind of tweaking things here or there, coming up with little ideas, and maybe somebody else wants to do it a different way than I do it. That's okay. I don't mind. They can tell me that my stuff is amateur and uh, they have a better way. Great. Share your ideas, and at the end of the day, I'm going to decide to do it the way that I want to. You know. Yep. Okay. Well, I think we're getting towards the end here. If anybody has any questions, feel free to inquire. But I want to thank Adelina and Adept W and Strange Bus and everybody else that dropped by to say hello. Thanks for doing that. And this will be going up on YouTube shortly. Some of my videos, I've noticed that it takes like many hours for it to upload. I don't know if they're just scanning it to make sure I didn't, put any music that shouldn't be there or something, but I don't know. Sometimes it seems to take ages to upload, but it will be there. Tomorrow, the plan is to do a stream where, like I said, I want to play some more Space Crusade. I'll be using some mods. I might not be talking much about HeroQuest, but at least Space Crusade is from the makers of HeroQuest. And to me, I mean, I've created a way that it's kind of fitting in the same storyline. So, I'll have my dice out. I'll be playing. Might do another one of these reading sessions. Yeah, this copy of HeroQuest, the Screaming Spectre. You can barely see it because it's got like paint splattered on it. I mean, the guy refunded my purchase, but I was like, wow, I can't believe you sold me this super rare book with paint all over it. So, but I do have a copy that has a clean cover. It's just so happens that I've got that. But I can be a little more, excuse me, a little more casual with it. I don't have to worry that, oh, it's this pristine vintage book that I'm reading. So anyway, I'll see you on the next stream. And if you don't catch us live, be sure to check us out on YouTube. Check out Strange Bus and Striker and everybody else that joined. I mean, sub for sub, follow for follow. I'm cool with that. I think we all build our own communities the way we want to, and it's nice to have everybody checking each other out, supporting each other. So everybody take care, stay safe, count your blessings, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for checking out HeroQuest fans. And we're going to end the stream now. Thank you.